NFL free agency day 2 is here. What's going on, BLV? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch here to give you my reaction and analysis to each of the signings that have already happened last night, earlier today, and then if any break here live on March 12th, 2024. Hopefully you guys are able to find this stream and interact with the stream. Been putting out a lot of videos lately and realize the notifications might be a little slow or not available. So hopefully everything's going well on the YouTube side of things. But let's have some fun with day 2 of free agency. Let me know what you guys think so far of what's happening in the NFL. All right, so let's rock. Let's begin with, and let me guys know where you want me to go next in terms of the signings that I haven't yet reacted to. If you missed yesterday, I was live last night talking about most, if not all, of the signings that took place on day 1 of NFL free agency. So let's begin with the Minnesota Vikings, because the Minnesota Vikings have had a pretty awesome last 24 hours. The Vikings have decided to move on from Kirk Cousins, and they've gone in a different direction at quarterback, cheap at the quarterback position. Sam Darnold is potentially going to be the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings in 2024. Sam Darnold gets a 1-year deal worth $10 million for the Vikings, and he could potentially run that Kevin O'Connell offense. Sam Darnold is now 26 years old. He's going to turn 27 in June, and he's been through it. Former first-round pick, highly coveted out of USC in the 2018 NFL Draft. Struggled initially in his career with the New York Jets. Went to the Carolina Panthers for his second opportunity. Wasn't great there until really I felt like the second season in Carolina, he found his stride a little bit and seemed to get a little bit better. You might recall that the Carolina Panthers nearly made the playoffs with Sam Darnold as their starter in that 2022 NFL season. They lost to Tom Brady in the second to last game, which booted them out of the playoff race. But they were competitive, and in that season, Sam Darnold had a winning record of 4-2. Throughout his career, it's been up and down, but Sam Darnold has always shown skill. He's always shown the ability to be a starting quarterback, the arm strength, the release, the feet, the mobility to be able to be a quarterback at this level. Where he has struggled is his mental side of the game, his ability to read the field, read coverage, and his inability to maintain calm under pressure and not force it and turn it over. Once upon a time, Sam Darnold saw ghosts against the New England Patriots. You may recall that game. That has stuck with him throughout his career in terms of sometimes he makes boneheaded throws and boneheaded decisions, but he also can make a really nice throw into tight coverage because of his arm strength and ability. Now, I think what the Vikings are counting on here is that he's evolved. He has grown as a adult, as a person, as a human being, as a mature individual, but he has also grown as a football player, and he's been able to be coached by Kyle Shanahan this past season in San Francisco, where he didn't really play much. He only played 1 game at the end of the year. His stats in that season, on 46 attempts, he completed 28 passes. He got some action against the Ravens at the end of that game. 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and, not anything special, but I feel like Sam Darnold does deserve this opportunity to be at least in competition for a starting job. I think that he has always had the talent. I think that he is a guy that I'd be willing to risk it on. If I was in a situation like the Vikings and I knew I was probably going to go with a young quarterback at some point within the next couple of seasons, I'd definitely take a swing on Sam Darnold and see what he has. 1-year deal, $10 million, nothing too significant, nothing that's really going to hurt you long term. And it allows you to reset your team. It allows you to have a competitive quarterback that can actually run your offense, not like a pure backup, but a guy with some skill and ability. And it allows you to have upside at a position that you're not spending a lot of money at in 2024. And it allows you to restructure the rest of your team. So if that's spending on edge rushers, what the Vikings have done with Greenard and they've done with Van Ginkel, or spending on a linebacker, or potentially upgrading the offensive line in the interior, or potentially upgrading the cornerback group, whatever it may be, the Vikings now have the opportunity, which they wouldn't have had with Kirk Cousins, to upgrade the rest of their team and reset the timeline of what they're doing. And with a young head coach in Kevin O'Connell, that matters. Brian Flores is a great defensive coordinator. I don't think they're going to lose him anytime soon. It seems like they're building a pretty fascinating defense. And honestly, you could look at a roster in the Vikings that if they would have had Kirk Cousins, it would have been quite limited and bare. But now that they have moved on from Cousins and signed a guy like Darnold, who may not be even near Kirk Cousins as a player with production in the NFL level, but he does have talent. He does have upside. And at only 27, 28, he's going to be somebody that maybe on this new opportunity after a year of learning this system under Kyle Shanahan, that Kevin O'Connell can take him with receivers like Addison and Jefferson and Hawkinson, and now Aaron Jones in the backfield, which we'll discuss, and he can be something, right? I'm not saying he's going to be the guy, the future, but it's better than going out and signing a Jimmy Garoppolo. It's better than going out and signing a Gardner Minshew. A guy, that's had a lot of games to see what he has. This guy's still young. This guy still has upside. This guy's always shown physical talent. So now in a proper offense, which he has really never had, right? Carolina was kind of a mess. New York was kind of a mess. I think Sam Darnold deserves an opportunity with good skill talent and a good offense around him. They've got a solid offensive line. I like this signing a lot. I think it does wonders for the Vikings and their team-building philosophy. Saying hello to the people in the chat. What's up, Jamari? What's up, Tyler? What's up, Malia? Thank you guys so much for joining. Gronk, spike the like button if you haven't already. Let me know if you've been enjoying the free agency content so far. The Vikings also made a massive move. Aaron Jones signed a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Minnesota Vikings to be their new running back in the backfield. Aaron Jones is one of the best running backs in all of football, and he will be the Vikings ball carrier for 2024. Love that this is a 1-year contract, that this is 1 year, $7 million. I think that is a fantastic, phenomenal deal for Aaron Jones and the Vikings, specifically the Vikings. I think the Vikings get all the benefit with none of the risk. They get to have an elite ball carrier for a season. And that also allows them to maximize the offense around Sam Darnold, who I've already brought up as a cheap quarterback option. That also allows them to be able to run the ball, to be able to, and within this offense, it's very similar to Green Bay. So that's why it made a great fit, and that's why I predicted it on Bleacher Report, Aaron Jones to the Vikings. It's a perfect fit. It's a zone rushing offense, outside zone, inside zone. Packers, inside zone, outside zone under Matt LaFleur. Kevin O'Connell, same thing from the LA Rams, right? Play action oriented, play action boot oriented. Darnold fits that offense. Coming from San Francisco this past season, Aaron Jones fits that offense. He can be explosive. He can bring an element to this offense that they did not have. And when teams are double teaming Justin Jefferson or having two safeties deep because of Addison, Hawkinson, and Jefferson, well, now you're going to be able to hit them with explosive gains on the ground and take them out of some of those looks to have to put that extra guy in the box. And then Sam Darnold's going to have easy looks down the field to be able to throw the ball. So this all corresponds, right? So if teams want to stop the run in Aaron Jones, then they're going to leave some easy throws for Sam Darnold, therefore making your cheap investment in the quarterback position a lot better because he's throwing one-on-ones to one of the best receivers in the league, one of the best number 2 receivers in the league, right? So it carries over. And with a stronger defense potentially on paper with the Vikings, this team could be sneaky decent this year. I've already discussed how much I like those free agency signings on defense. And with Brian Flores running the show on defense and Kevin O'Connell running the show on offense, you have two of the best coaches on their sides of the football. And Aaron Jones, he can do it all. He's explosive still. He took over the playoffs against the Dallas Cowboys. He was unbelievable in that game. Unbelievable. He was the best player on the field. He was one of the best players against the 49ers in that game. Slipping and ducking and dodging tacklers. Explosive gains in that game. Exposing the Niners defense on sweeps, on toss crack, right? And he's a really good receiver, really talented receiver, really good in the screen game, which the Vikings like to do. He's really good at getting down the field on those wheel routes and things like that. So he can be an explosive element to this offense that they didn't have and that they really lacked without Dalvin Cook, who they moved on from last year, and Dalvin Cook past his prime. They were right to move on from him. But this is basically Aaron Jones like 3 years ago, Dalvin Cook. This is what Aaron Jones is. Dalvin Cook, but in 2020, 2021. A little bit more gas in the tank. And the Packers decided to move on from him. And what I love about this for Aaron Jones, he stays in the division and he's able to go and say, hey, Packers, I get to play you twice a year and I get to shred your defense twice a year. And I love that for Aaron Jones. He played 11 games last year, 656 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4.6 yards per attempt, 30 catches, 233 yards, and a touchdown. The year before, he had 1,100 yards, which was the most of his career, 1,121. 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 receiving touchdowns, 59 catches. That was also a career high. So in 2022, he had arguably the best season of his career. The only other season that would rival that is his 19 touchdown season in 2019, his first with Matt LaFleur in this style of offense, inside zone, outside zone offense. He has 3 1,000-yard seasons, and he is another running back, too, that just because he's like 29, 30 years old, he's 29 right now, turning 30 in December, just because he's 29 doesn't really speak to the tread on the tires, right? He has only had 200 carries 3 times, and they're relatively low numbers. I mean, 213, 201, 236. The only concern with Aaron Jones is health. If he can stay on the field, and you're not even concerned about that, it's 1 year, $7 million. I mean, who cares, really? You've got guys like Chandler that can back him up and play in games if he's not available. I mean, this is like no risk for me. So the Vikings are going to have a stronger running game, potentially a stronger defense to thrust Sam Darnold into an upward trajectory. So Aaron Jones is a great signing, a phenomenal fit, and Vikings fans should be absolutely pumped about that one. Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk spike the like button, share this with your friends. I realize the notifications on YouTube are going to be pretty lackluster today, so because I've posted so many videos, and maybe I'll have to slow that down, but send it out to the people. Send it in the Discord. Let people know that we are live right now on the BLV, and hopefully some people searching on YouTube for some free agency stuff are going to find this video. But you could do me a favor by Gronk spiking the like button and leaving a comment when this video is over. I appreciate you guys. And thank you for tuning in. If you have been tuning in to Bleacher Report streams as well, thank you so much. We had 3 yesterday, 1 so far today, potentially more today. I'm not sure. They'll hit me up if they want me, but we're here on the BLV for now, and we might be back later depending on what happens in the NFL. Let's check if there's been any news as of late. What's up, Aaron? So the last thing I've seen is that Jordan Elliott has signed with the 49ers. I did write that down. So we're all up to date in terms of the news. Okay, so the Vikings, we have just discussed. Let's talk about a former Patriot, as we have a Patriots fan and a couple in the chat right now. We've got Mike Gesicki, who I'm just going to pull up his Pro Football Reference. The Cincinnati Bengals have made a move to upgrade the receiving core for Joe Burrow. Mike Gesicki has signed with Joe Burrow's Bengals. This is a very under-the-radar, sweet move, and I'll explain why. Mike Gesicki is 6'6", 245 pounds. He is designated as a tight end, but he is signing a 1-year, $3.25 million contract. He played with the Patriots last year, and had some nice moments, but it wasn't very consistent, and his role was very limited. He did not play a ton of snaps. He did play 17 games, 10 starts, 29 receptions, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing amazing, right? In his career, though, he has had really good numbers. 73 catches in 2021, 780 yards. He had 2 consecutive 50-plus catch seasons, 700-yard catch seasons in 2020, 2021. Right in the early days of Mike McDaniel and the later days of Brian Flores. And basically, he's struggled to find his role as of late on the Patriots and within Mike McDaniel's offense, where they ask the tight end to block a little bit more. But why I love this move is the Bengals are for sure going to lose Tyler Boyd, right? And Tyler Boyd, if you look up Tyler Boyd is a big slot receiver, right? Tyler Boyd is 6'3", I want to say, off the top of my head. I'm just going to clarify that on Pro Football Reference. He is 6'2", 203 pounds. So he's a pretty big guy for a slot receiver. Typically, you think of a slot receiver as a shifty little guy, right? Well, Mike Gesicki could play the slot for the Bengals in this offense and provide them a little bit of versatility in terms of matchups. So instead of signing Tyler Boyd to, let's say, $6 or $7 more million than Mike Gesicki, they can go out and get a player that is basically a slot receiver, but is designated as a tight end. But he's a talented guy. He's a big-framed guy. He runs well. He's deceptive in terms of quickness and route running, especially at creating separation at the top of his routes. He's able to box out defenders very effectively. He's a great red zone threat. And so he will provide another different dimension to this offense that the Bengals, may miss in Tyler Boyd, but he could also add another layer of coming out in a 2 tight end formation, splitting into the slot, doing some more athletic things than potentially a guy like Tanner Hudson did for them, or a guy like Drew Sample, who they just re-signed, will be able to do for them. Sample is more of an inline tight end. Mike Gesicki is more of a move tight end. So that ability to move these players around and put them in different positions, I think brings a lot more versatility to the offense. I've always been a fan of Gesicki, having watched him many times against my favorite team, New England. With the Dolphins, I thought he always thrived against my Patriots teams. And then going to New England, I like the guy. I think he's got a great personality. I think he's a good guy to have in the locker room. He understands, no matter what his role is, how to perform it well. He's always got positive vibes. And he's still not that old. He's 28 years old. So he's not too old. He's had plenty of experience in different offenses. And like I said, he's had 350 catch seasons, 170 catch season, 2 700-yard seasons, 3 500-yard seasons. So he's had success throughout his career, and I think that he is an undervalued asset if you know how to use him. So Mike Gesicki lands with the Bengals for 1 year, $3.25 million. Aaron says, what's your point of view on the Calvin Ridley situation? I think that Calvin Ridley will probably sign with the Patriots, if I had to make a guess. I think he's going to go to Jacksonville or New England, but I think ultimately he's using Jacksonville as leverage to New England. Like, I think he's using, I want to play for Jacksonville still, as leverage for New England to give him more money. I really think that's what it is. So he's going to try to get every single penny that he possibly can from the Patriots. Jay says, B-plus receiver, someone desperate is going to pay money for. I think Calvin Ridley's a B-plus receiver. I think that's a fair description, but I also think that he's a guy that still has some untapped potential as somebody that had to miss football because of suspension for an entire season, was hurt, had some depression things. I don't know if I'm allowed to use that word on YouTube, but regardless, he had some mental health situations where he was, not exactly 100% in Atlanta near the end. And then, so he's a guy that last year came back to Jacksonville, and I felt like, although he was utilized in my opinion, a kind of incorrect manner, he still had a productive year. Like 76 catches, 1,016 yards, 8 touchdowns is a good season. That's in fact his second best season statistically in his entire career. And he also, despite being 29 years old, is still, is still pretty young in football years because he hasn't played that much and he hasn't gotten injured that much. So, yeah, I definitely think New England should take a swing at him for a lot of money. I appreciate the dislike, whoever that was. We love jackasses in our chat. Let's move on to the next signing, which I have is, or somebody brought up a question about Drake May, so let me answer that first. Jarhead, what's up, man? He says Seahawks will trade up for Drake May. You heard it here first. I don't think New England will let him pass by, but that's just my opinion. Let's move to Darnell Mooney and the Atlanta Falcons. All right. The Atlanta Falcons signed Kirk Cousins yesterday and made a huge splash. And you guys know I like that. But I don't like that if you don't have receivers to throw the ball to. So what have the Atlanta Falcons done? They have supported Drake London as the number one X receiver with a shifty, quick, fast Z receiver, a number 2, Darnell Mooney. 3-year deal, $39 million, 26 guaranteed. Darnell Mooney is one of my favorite underrated receivers on the market, and he gets paid justifiably so as somebody that I think a lot of people across the NFL view as mistreated and misused in Chicago. And when you watch the tape in Chicago, oftentimes, despite his drop issues at times, he's open. He's not getting the ball. And in Atlanta, I think he's a great fit for a guy that can run vertical, stretch the defense, provide some speed to a receiving core that doesn't have a lot of it. And he can complement a big-framed receiver like Drake London by spreading the field, opening up the defense, and allowing Kyle Pitts and Drake London to work the intermediate and short levels of the field and create yards after catch for those guys. And Mooney can take the top off of the defense for Kirk Cousins. I like Mooney in terms of his route running, especially down the field. I think he's a good route runner when it comes to vertical concepts, intermediate, deep concepts. And he's had an 1,000-yard season in his career before in 2021. He had 81 catches for 1,055 yards and 4 touchdowns. That is 62 yards per game. His numbers have since deteriorated, but you notice a trend. In 2020 and 2021, he had 631 yards as a rookie, 4 touchdowns, 61 catches, looked promising as a rookie. And then he had an 1,000-yard season. And then all of a sudden, they changed quarterbacks. Justin Fields was the guy. And all of a sudden, with Justin Fields, this guy's only caught 71 passes in 2 years for 900 yards total and 3 touchdowns. So clearly the fit within the offense that they were running in Chicago and the quarterback that was throwing him the ball was a problem for Darnell Mooney. And for whatever reason, he did not fit. So I think this is a case of a receiver that is still young at 26, going on 27 years old, that has been, in a situation where maybe he's not been utilized the best, and the Falcons think they can utilize him better, and the Falcons think they can allow him to reach his potential within an offense that Zach Robinson's going to be running with Sean McVay elements. This guy could maybe be a Brandon Cooks-esque, when you think about the Rams offense over the years, that type of role. Intermediate, vertical, stretch the defense guy. Maybe he gets the odd jet sweep off of their little, jet motion things that they do off of the running game. Maybe the odd screen pass. But Mooney is going to be able to be a great complement and a speed complement and a missing element to an offense in Atlanta for Kyle Pitts, for Drake London. I like Mooney. I always have. I think that he'll have a good season in Atlanta. I wouldn't be shocked if he got back to about 700, 800 yards in Atlanta in 2024. All right, the Falcons. Marvin Harrison to the Chargers. What draft pick do the Chargers have, by the way? Deebo Samuel is changing his jersey number, it looks like. What's up, Jake? How you doing, bro? Debo is changing his number from number 19 to number 1. Zamora, they have the 5th pick. It could happen. It could happen. I think that Harrison, if he doesn't go 4th, he could go 5th for sure. If the Cardinals don't decide to go with him and they go with maybe an edge rusher or something, then yeah, I think the Chargers could definitely land Marvin Harrison. That would be huge. And especially if they end up trading Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. Jake, I hope you're doing well, man. I realize these times are tough for Broncos fans, but I appreciate you tuning in, brother. Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk spiked the like button. As I did mention already, YouTube is definitely punishing me right now for posting so much. So notifications might be a little bit tough for you guys out there. So make sure to Gronk spike that like button so more people can find this video. And if you would leave a comment after it's done, I'd really appreciate that. So thank you guys so much for the support. And just another quick reminder, Bleacher Report. I'm doing a lot of Bleacher Report streams. So I send them out on X all the time, Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. You'll get all the notifications for my Bleacher Report streams, which are absolutely free, by the way. You just click on it, you download the app, and you can watch it, which I do exclusive content over there. I did 3 videos yesterday. I did 1 earlier today. And then you can also get it in Discord. So if you're a Discord member, you can also get them there where I post them every single time in the Discord. Or you just follow me on Bleacher Report on the app. That's also a way that you can do it as well. So check it out there. Jeremy Chinn says, Jeremy Chinn has been signed. He doesn't say anything. Former Panthers safety Jeremy Chinn is signing with the Washington Commanders for a 1-year deal. I do believe we have some Commanders news, so I can parlay that into what we can discuss. So let's do that. The Commanders are signing everybody, dude. Everybody. So let's talk about the Commanders. All right. Let's go. The Washington Commanders are doing it again. They're back at it. They are feasting on free agency. The Commanders have signed 3 more players at 3 different positions, the latest of which, Jeremy Chinn, the hybrid safety linebacker, formerly of the Carolina Panthers' 2nd-round pick, has been signed by the Commanders. I am going to be intrigued to see where he plays. And thinking of Dan Quinn's defense, I think he could play 2 different positions. I could see him playing linebacker for him and being an undersized linebacker potentially with great movement ability. Think like Deion Jones type of guy in Dan Quinn's defense with good ability to get downhill, diagnose the run game, hit people hard, be a physical force. He could potentially play as a hybrid safety nickel player like a Jaron Curse within his defense, where Jaron Curse was a tight end remover, a tight end stopper, also a middle of the field defender due to his length and size. So this is a really intriguing signing to me. I think this could end up being a really good move for Jeremy Chinn's career, becoming more of a niche player as opposed to a guy that just does everything. Like Carolina at times just used him in too many roles and tried to ask too many things of Jeremy Chinn. He's strong safety. He's free safety. He's nickel. Bro, give me one thing to do. But Jeremy Chinn, in his career, has had some really nice seasons. In 2020, he was actually 2nd in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 fumble recoveries, an interception, 117 tackles, and a sack. He looked like an absolute stud and a great draft pick. After that, though, his decline definitely came. 107 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception in 2021 was still relatively similar. But then he drops to 11 games started, 70 tackles, no real production on the ball, only 1 sack. He's had 1 sack in every single year of his career, by the way. 12 games in Carolina last year, 1 sack, 30 tackles. So his play, his snaps, his usage has declined throughout his years in the NFL. 97%, 99%, 91%, and then only 39% last year. Part of that was Everett as the defensive coordinator used him in a different manner and didn't use him as much. And then, in Carolina, he was pretty much an every snap player, rather at nickel or safety for them in his early seasons in the NFL. And so I see him in two different ways. Like I mentioned, I think he's going to be a big safety, tight end remover, Jaron Curse, third safety, big nickel type of guy, or he's going to be undersized linebacker. Jeremy Chinn is not that small though. 6'3", 220. So he already looks like a linebacker, and he's got great height to him as well. So Jaron Curse, thinking of that name, if you're a Commanders fan, see how the Cowboys used him. Another signing they made was Clelin Ferrell of the 49ers to the Commanders as an edge rusher. He had 3.5 sacks this year. He was a 4th overall pick by the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know if they were the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders at that point. I think they might have been Oakland still in 2019. But 3.5 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, 1 forced fumble in 2023, 2024, and 28 tackles. He was used as an early down run defender to set the edge. So I could see the Commanders utilizing him on early downs to kind of correlate with Dorrance Armstrong. So Dorrance Armstrong, they signed already from the Cowboys. He's primarily been a pass rusher, a sub-package guy for the Cowboys. Maybe they bring in Clelin Ferrell in a lesser contract, 1 year, $3.75 million, as an early down edge setter role for this defense. So that's what I would be looking for Clelin Ferrell to do. He's always been a really good technician, really good in terms of setting the edge, defending the run. He's always had high effort, but his problem has been he's not a great pass rusher. He's not a very bendy guy. He's not a sack specialist. He's not a pressure guy. He is more of a run defending setting edge. So that is what Dan Quinn's looking for in the 6'4", 265-pound, 26-year-old Clelin Ferrell, former first-round pick. And the last signing is maybe the most fascinating and telling, and that's Marcus Mariota to the Commanders. And why this is so interesting, not because of Marcus Mariota being a former 2nd overall pick in the NFL draft in 2015 behind Jameis Winston, which these guys are forever tied. They always sign contracts at the same time. Jameis Winston signed today as well. But Marcus Mariota is 30 years old, turning 31, and didn't play much last year as a backup for Philadelphia. But you think of where he's been the last few years, right? So what's Marcus Mariota's skill set? He is a slimmer framed quarterback. He is quick and fast. He's a great runner. He's also a great mentor, very good guy, and a good backup because he sees the game well. He's just not able to really execute at a quick level on an NFL field. He has a somewhat limited arm, and he's not the greatest passer in the world, but he's a very good athlete and a very good guy and a very good mentor. But why I bring all these things up, when you think of what type of quarterback Marcus Mariota is, it makes you lean towards, well, the Commanders are going to pick Jayden Daniels. The Commanders are going to pick Jayden Daniels, right? Marcus Mariota, 6'4", 220, a little bit, thicker than a Jayden Daniels. But when you watch him, slim-framed, a runner, an accurate timing-based passer, a guy that can run a spread offense, an air raid, Cliff Kingsbury offense. When you think of Jayden Daniels, you think of a similar framed, similar skill set quarterback. Younger, better, potentially more upside than Mariota ever had. But that makes you believe that that is their guy, right? And it's interesting because Sam Howell's already on the roster. So what are they going to do with him? They could potentially trade Sam Howell to, let's say, the Broncos or the Vikings for, I don't know, like a 5th-round pick or a 6th-round pick or something like that. So that's also interesting. They could utilize this move to move Sam Howell somewhere else, bring in Jayden Daniels, then you have your veteran, your mentor for your young quarterback, and they're very similar. Because whenever you're talking about a rookie quarterback or a starting quarterback and a backup quarterback, you need to think of the backup quarterback as a quarterback that typically has a very similar skill set to your starter, because you want somebody to be reminiscent of your starter, to be able to play a similar style as your starter when your starter gets hurt or your starter misses time. So Marcus Mariota, 1 year, $6 million. I thought he was decent for the Falcons last year. 15 touchdowns, 9 picks, 2,200 yards. 5-8 as a starter for the Falcons in 2022. 438 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. That was his latest body of work. Not bad, not terrible at all, sorry. But he's really athletic, good guy, and gives me a hint of who they're going to pick in the draft. So Commanders signed 3 more players in NFL free agency, and I like the thought of each and every one of them. Okay, that's the Commanders. What's going on? What's going on, Big Al? How you doing, brother? Gronk, spike the like button, guys, if you haven't already. Share this with your friends. The Panthers have signed linebacker Jewell. Brandon Powell is returning to the Vikings. Okay. So let's put Jewell under my Panthers notes. That does make sense. Who do we want to talk about next? Could talk about the Jets. The Eagles, Big Al. I'll do Devante Parker for Big Al. All right. The Philadelphia Eagles have added a veteran wide receiver, Devante Parker. I know Devante Parker very well. I'm a Patriots fan. I have not always been the biggest fan of Devante Parker, especially when he drops the ball against the Raiders to lose us the game. But there are some admirable traits about Devante Parker's game, especially when he's not a number 1 or number 2 receiver like he was for New England, but a depth receiver in Philadelphia, a number 3, a number 4 type of guy, and could potentially fulfill what they were looking for in Julio Jones late last year, right? A big framed size receiver who gives you another big body at that position, great hands, great contested catch guy, good vertical threat on the outside of an offense. He is not very good at getting open. He, in fact, according to separation data, is the worst receiver in the NFL at creating separation. So Jalen Hurts, you're not going to have Devante Parker open. But what you will have is a red zone threat, a guy you can throw a back shoulder to, a guy that you can throw a jump ball up to, and he will win the ball a lot. He's very good at that. He has a good skill set for that. And he's tall, he's big. I think he's 6'4", and he's gone through some tough times as of late. He once upon a time was a first-round pick in the NFL draft. He once upon a time was a really good receiver. He had a 1,200-yard season in 2019, 9 touchdowns, 72 catches. The last 2 years in New England, he's had 539 yards and 3 touchdowns, 394 yards on 33 catches this past season, nearly the same amount of catches, the same amount of games, 13 games each. But Devante Parker has dealt with injuries throughout the course of his career, which has deteriorated his explosiveness, deteriorated his quickness, deteriorated his ability to separate. But he still brings depth to a wide receiver room. And apparently New England is still paying him a bit. I think the Parker contract is a 1-year deal, and the Eagles are actually only paying him what the Steelers are paying Russell Wilson, $1.2 million. So it does appear to be a 1-year, $4.69 million guaranteed deal, but the Eagles are paying only 1.2, with New England paying the rest. So it's a bargain. It's a bargain bin deal for the Eagles to get like a wide receiver 4 in their offense. All right. There you go, Big Al. You got your receiver there. Aaron says Ridley isn't even a number 1, doesn't want to play for the Patriots. Sad where we are. Ridley is I would consider Ridley a number 1. I think he's a top 32 receiver in the league. It depends what you think a number 1 receiver is. Because if you categorize a number 1 receiver as a guy that's a top 32 receiver in the NFL. I'd probably say Calvin Ridley is definitely in there. But in terms of like, is he like a bona fide absolute stud all pro? No, obviously not. I'll be excited if the Patriots sign Calvin Ridley, and it appears that they might. So we'll find out. We will find out. Okay, so the Panthers signed Josey, Jewell. Nothing has happened since then. Justin Jefferson turned down $30+ million per year from the Vikings before the season. Interesting. You want a Brown Metcalf type guy. Well, you'll have to draft that guy or you'll have to trade for that guy, in which case neither of those guys I think are available. I'm happy Uche re-signed. That was a great deal for the Patriots. Who do I want to talk about next? Patriots in the chat. He says, Belichick made sure we didn't get any of those guys. He definitely did. Not wrong about that. How about Joe Mixon? Let's talk about Joe Mixon. Yeah, let's talk about Joe. I don't even know what the trade is yet. Gronk, spike the like button, guys. If you haven't already, let's get those likes up. Make sure other people can find this video. Let's do Joe Mixon. That's my guy. But I don't even know what the trade is. Nobody does. So we're just going to riff. All right. The Houston Texans have found their running back. His name is Joe Mixon. One of my favorite running backs in the NFL for a while now. It's incredible how long Joe Mixon has played in the NFL at a high level. He is only 27 years old, and he has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons in the NFL, and he is 27 years old. Joe Mixon is a 4-time 1,000-yard rusher. He went to the Super Bowl with the Bengals a couple years back, and he has been the engine of good Bengals teams, bad Bengals teams, and everywhere in between. Joe Mixon was released by the Bengals due to his contract and the amount of money the Bengals were going to be paying him in 2024. They just didn't believe he was worth it any longer, and they would rather move on before it was too late. But I regret to inform the Bengals that Joe Mixon is still good. Last year, he had 1,034 yards. He rushed for 60.8 yards per game. 9 touchdowns. He caught 52 passes for 376 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he had a 4.0 yards per attempt. Mixon possesses some of the best vision in the NFL, some of the best feet in the NFL. And I honestly felt that Joe Mixon played better in 2023 than he did in 2022. So it's interesting to see that the Texans were quick to snatch him up. And this running back market has been extremely quick. I mean, wow. Would have anyone expected this? And I thought Joe Mixon was going to be cut, but eventually he got traded. And as of right now, guys, I'm sorry, Texans fans, I can't inform you what the trade was. I'm sure it's not a lot, considering that they were going to release him. But Nathan says the Texans sent a 7th rounder for Mixon. I didn't see that unless this was just information as of right now, but I appreciate that, Nathan, regardless. Mixon can do it all. He can pass block. He can catch the football. He's great in the screen game, great patient runner, and all of his skills fit the Texans' run game. Right? Devin Singletary wasn't the most explosive runner, wasn't the fastest runner, wasn't, the guy that was going to hit the home run. Mixon isn't at this point either, but he has incredible sense for when to cut back, when to hit the hole, when to be able to change gears. He's very good at breaking tackles, and he's seemingly extremely clutch. Like, I cannot recall a time where Joe Mixon, when the game on the line, was stuffed at the line of scrimmage. I can't recall a time where Joe Mixon didn't come through over the past 3 years for Joe Burrow's Bengals in a big moment. Every single time they need him, every single time they've needed him to step up, whether it's been against the Chiefs or the Bills or it's been on prime time, he has always seemingly stepped up. And for a team like the Texans, who is going to be elevating their game to contention status in 2024 and beyond with CJ Stroud running the show, having a guy like Joe Mixon who he can give the ball 20 times, who he can throw the ball and is going to have reliable hands, who can pass block and he knows is going to pick the right guy up. He is Devin Singletary times 1,000. I mean, this guy has Devin Singletary's skills of breaking tackles and having good vision, but he's also just a million times better. So this is an extreme upgrade for the Houston Texans at a position that's extremely important for their offense. This is a 49er style of offense. This is a Shanahan style of offense under Bobby Slowick that likes to run the ball, likes to set up their play action, and Mixon can allow them to do just that this year and potentially beyond. Mixon, at still only 27, is a Texan. Coach is pissed. Yeah, Coach, Gronk spike the like button. We've got, love everybody in the chat right now. As I've said many times, make sure to get those likes up because of the YouTube right now. I've been spamming it with content, uploading videos, so make sure you're aware because notifications aren't always going to be sent out to you, to subscribers, so don't just expect to get a notification. I'll be on the homepage for you guys probably, or the subscription feed. If you're on Discord, make sure to have that Discord available as well. So, or Twitter. I always send my videos and live streams out on Twitter as well. So that's different ways you can find my content if you're struggling with that sort of stuff. So let's get to the next team. Who should we go with? We did Joe Mixon. Big Al likes the pickup of the Texans. Should we do the Dolphins? The Steelers? We could do the Steelers. Patrick Queen. Oh, the Josey Jewell deal is in. Okay. That's the latest signing. Let's do the Steelers. I'll also have timestamps for this video whenever I can tonight. I did them for the last stream as well, which was crazy, like marking a timestamp for like 3 hours into a live stream. That was funny. Okay, let's do this. The Pittsburgh Steelers have added a much-needed athletic linebacker to the middle of their defense. Patrick Queen of the Baltimore Ravens is a Pittsburgh Steeler, signing a 3-year, $41 million contract with Mike Tomlin Steelers. He will be in the middle, right behind Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and the vicious front four of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have not had a linebacker this talented, this fast, this good since Ryan Shazier. And I think Queen is going to bring so much to this defense in terms of sideline-to-sideline ability, in terms of updating their defense in speed, athleticism, 6 foot, 230. He's a little bit undersized for a typical Steeler linebacker, but he can flow and carry and be a guy that can be effective in the pass game. And that's what I think the Steelers like about Patrick Queen. He is an effective blitzer. He is pretty good in coverage and has improved over the years. And at only 24 years old, he turns 25 in August, they're going to get a guy that's ascending, that is hitting his prime. He's not even there yet. He's hitting it. And with Mike Tomlin coaching him, I'm sure he'll get to a different level. But last year under Mike McDonald, he had 3.5 sacks, 133 tackles, an interception. He was a second-team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler beside Raekwon Smith. The Steelers have a very nice linebacker room now on their depth chart, but last year he allowed a 94.5 passer rating, the year before an 83.1. The last 2 years have been a massive jump for him in pass coverage. under Mike Macdonald as compared to playing in Wink Martindale's system, where I believe he was maybe just a little too undersized. The year previous, he had 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 117 tackles. I'm going to put up his Pro Football Focus grading just to see where they had him at. But this guy is just a marquee first-round pick of the Ravens a few years ago that has ascended to a different level within the last 2 years. He was 28th overall in the 2020 NFL Draft. And let's see where PFF had him. PFF has not been kind to him in the past, so I'm kind of intrigued where they had him. 24th last year, which is pretty good. 12,046 snaps. 1,246 snaps. That is not good math. Coverage grade was his highest out of all of his grades, 74.4. He had a 67.8 pass rush grade, a 66.3 run defense grade, a 73 overall grade. So his coverage grade was 17th overall. His pass rush grade was 31st. His overall grade was 24th. In 2022, he had the 31st best grade in football, and he went up to 24th last year. But as I said earlier, his first 2 seasons were a struggle in a different defensive scheme. Wink Martindale's aggressive scheme where you need bigger linebackers, and he is a little bit smaller, 6'2", 230. He was 71st and 82nd in his first 2 seasons. So he was terrible in his first 2 seasons. But since then, he has really grown into becoming a very good linebacker. On top of him just being extremely young. You look at the amount of snaps he played, he actually played the most snaps in the NFL at linebacker last year. So at least that's according to PFF. That's also an extremely impressive number. In terms of games started, he has never missed a game in his professional career. So all of those things are positives. Those are all check marks. 3 years, $41 million. That sounds like a really manageable contract for a guy with this type of upside that has been this good the last 2 years. So Patrick Queen is a Pittsburgh Steeler. Bring back the curtain. All right, the Steelers are done. Jay, did you guys sign anyone else by chance that I'm missing? I can add them on top. Let's talk about my guy, Shaq Barrett. Gronk spiked the like button. Thank you. All right. Let's see the edge position. Steel curtain is back, baby. Wow, he was actually okay. All right. Interesting. The Patriots safety Jalen Mills has agreed to a contract with the Giants. Interesting. All right. Let's do Shaq Barrett, shall we? Okay. The Miami Dolphins have added depth to their edge position with veteran Super Bowl champ, not once but twice, Shaq Barrett. He is 31, turning 32, getting up there in age. Not the player he used to be, but still a darn good edge rusher that's going to be able to fill the role of the third edge rusher, situational player for the Miami Dolphins, a team that obviously has 2 injuries to their edge rushers late last season, Bradley Chubb and Phillips, Jalen Phillips, one of the best in the game, 2 of the best in the game, and Shaq Barrett will play the role that he initially played in Denver behind the great Von Miller and the Hall of Fame DeMarcus Ware. Shaq Barrett has signed a 1-year, $9 million contract to be a starter early in the year and potentially phase him out near the end of the year as a situational guy, as I just suggested. The last season he played, he had 4.5 sacks. That was this past season. He played 16 out of 17 games. He had an interception. He had a touchdown, pick 6. He had 2 passes defense, 3 forced fumbles, 4.5 sacks, 52 tackles. Still a pretty productive season. Not the sack numbers that we've seen from him before in his career. From seasons 2019 through 2021, he had 19.5 sacks, which led the NFL in 2019. He had 8 sacks in 2020, and he had 10 in 2021, where he was a Pro Bowler in 2019 and 2021. 2-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champ, the 4th in All-Pro Defensive Player of the Year votes in 2019. Last year, according to Pro Football Reference, he had 19 pressures, 8 quarterback knockdowns, 6 hurries. That's Pro Football Reference's numbers, not Pro Football Focus. According to Pro Football Focus, he was the 42nd best edge rusher in the NFL, which is still like high-end number 2 edge rusher type of grading. He had a terrible coverage grade. I'm not exactly sure why, but he's not exactly known for his coverage. But he does drop back in coverage in Todd Bowles' defense. We'll see if he does the same within the new and improved Dolphins defense under Weaver, who is a Baltimore guy. So we'll see how that works out. But he had a darn good pass rushing grade of 82.6, which ended up grading him as the 15th best pass rusher at the edge position, according to PFF's grading. He played 746 snaps, a greater rotation last year thanks to the young additions of the Bucs front seven, which is why they didn't re-sign him, because they like some of the young players there in Tampa Bay. And they also are in a bit of a cap crunch, having to re-sign Antoine Winfield Jr., Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, etc. So some priorities came in over Shaq Barrett. But I love Shaq Barrett. Great guy. He had to go through a lot this past season. He actually lost his daughter to a horrible accident. And so he's a veteran, a Super Bowl champ, great character, good for the culture in Miami. He's going to stay in Florida, which is probably good for his family and good for him in that situation. And I think he's going to help Miami early in the season, especially be able to get over the losses of Phillips and Chubb. So, yeah, one of my favorite guys in the NFL on defense. I've had respect for him for a long time as a player, dating back to the 2015 Broncos, where he is just a super underrated player, playing behind Von Miller back then. That was his rookie season, actually. Won the Super Bowl there. Was with Denver until 2018, kind of as a backup. They had a loaded edge rush rotation, and then he ends up going to Tampa. In his first season with Tampa, he leads the NFL in sacks. So he was always kind of underrated, found his way up, and was able to do some damage with Tampa Bay. Now he's in Miami and looking to end his career on the right note. 1 year, $9 million with the Dolphins. Okay, that's Shaq Barrett. Do we want to talk about Jalen Mills? Do I have any other Giants news that I can discuss? Let's see. Darious Williams to the Rams is an interesting one I've got to talk about. The Jets? I got to talk about the Jets. They did a shit ton of stuff. The G-Man. Jalen Mills. That's Big Al and my boy. 1 year. It doesn't have the money. How about we talk about Carolina for a sec? Because they signed 2 people. Josey, Jewell. 3 years. $22.75 million. Okay. Let's talk about the Panthers. What's up, Shaw? What's going on, bro? Gronk spiked the like button. Your Panthers are up. Zamora says Mixon about to take all the snaps from Pierce. You are right about that one. All right. Let's go with the Panthers. Okay. The Carolina Panthers are upgrading their defense, signing a defensive tackle and a linebacker that I'm a fan of. At defensive tackle, the underrated A'Shawn Robinson, big run stuffer that can play alongside one of the best in football in Derek Brown. That is going to be a tough defense to run against. I'll say that much. Right up the middle, you got a lot of beef. And I was talking to my buddy Brett, who is a Panthers fan, and he's saying that they've signed 3 or 4 guys all over 330 pounds. And I was like, I think they're compensating for something. I think they're compensating for the little man at quarterback. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But A'Shawn Robinson, 3 years, $22.5 million, finally cashes in. He's played with the Rams. He won the Super Bowl with the Rams. He's played with the Giants last year, where he was very, very good alongside the big man Sexy Dexy. And now he reunites with Elijah Evero, who was an assistant for A'Shawn Robinson once upon a time. So Robinson is one of the better defensive tackle run defenders in the NFL. He's not a sack guy. He's not a pass rusher. His sacks are not going to show up. Like, in his career, he has 7 sacks in about 7 seasons. Okay, he is not a sacker. But he does, make an impact. He tackles. For a defensive tackle, he makes a lot of plays. 62 tackles, 42 tackles in the last 2 years, and then 67 tackles in 2021. Sorry if I pronounced Evero's name incorrectly. I do that often. 62 tackles in 2023, which was the second best of his career. His best of his career was 67 in 2021 with the Rams, and 42 tackles in 10 games with the Rams the year before. So he was with the Rams in 2020 through 2022. He was with the Giants this past season and Detroit for the first 4 years of his career. Last season, Pro Football Focus graded him as the 75th best interior player in football, with the 49th grade against the run. In 2022, he ranked 52nd. In 2021, he was 11th. In 2018, he was 10th. So he has shown elite capability according to PFF in the past. He is 6'4", 320 pounds. He is an Alabama Crimson Tide player. Bryce Young will like that. And yeah, I mean, not a lot really has to be said about him. He's just a big, vicious, tough, old school interior defensive tackle that's going to clog lanes and tackle people for losses. That's what he does. And then their other signing was Jewell, replacing Frankie Louvu, who left to the Commanders. I love that signing for the Commanders, and I'm sure Panthers fans can let me know how much Frankie Louvu has been great for them. But Jewell can be a very solid replacement. He also worked under Evero in Denver. So these are 2 of Evero's guys, I believe. So 3 years, $22.75 million for the linebacker now of the Panthers. Jewell has been just very consistent. He's good in all aspects. He doesn't really have a flaw necessarily, but he is more of a traditional middle linebacker. He is not what Frankie Louvu brought to the table, in my opinion, in terms of like size, edge, pass rushing capability. He's 6'2", 236, which is still pretty big, but he's not like the same size as Frankie Louvu. He's not going to be able to rush the quarterback from the edge. He's more of a diagnose cover guy. 108 tackles last year, 128 the year before, 113 in 2020. He's had 3 of the past 4 years, very successful seasons. In each of those seasons, he's had at least 2 sacks. So he's at least shown an ability to get to the quarterback. He had 2 interceptions in 2022. And he played 75% of the snaps last year for the Broncos, 95% of the snaps in 2022, and 93% of the snaps in 2020, where he played 1,000 snaps, over 1,000 snaps for the Broncos in that season. So, and throughout his career on Pro Football Reference, he's only allowed a 100 passer rating once in his career, and that was his rookie season. Since then, he's had a really good passer rating allowed for a linebacker, floating around 90. So that's pretty impressive. Typically, linebackers allow higher passer ratings because they're lower lower depth of target. But you're looking at Josey, Jewell, who graded 40th according to PFF at the linebacker position, 796 snaps for him last year. His overall grades, 83.5 in 2021 was his most impressive, but he also graded 13th in 2020 and 27th in 2022. And he had the 26th best pass rushing grade among linebackers last year, 35th in coverage. So maybe I'm not giving him enough benefit of the doubt in pass rushing. But what I will say about him is he went from a different defense this past season than the last couple of seasons. So obviously working under Everett in more of a Fangio style of defense is different than working under Vance Joseph and the Broncos, who's more aggressive, more blitz heavy, different styles of defenses. So he's also been able to play well in both defenses, but I think he's most at home in the Everett style. So I think you've got yourself a good linebacker for 3 years, 22.75. Not elite, but good, steady, reliable, mostly healthy. So Josey Jewell is a Carolina Panther. Dustin says he likes the Ashawn signing, have liked the big fellas since his Detroit days. I agree with you, Dustin. Shaw says, think I'm done with Carolina. Letting Luvu walk was terrible. The Burns move was dumb too. I thought that some Panthers fans liked moving on from Burns. Maybe I'm mistaken about that. Maybe they should have just done that a little bit earlier than they decided to do it. The Bucs are keeping Devante David. Wow, what a shocker. I am absolutely shocked. Taken back by that news. Can't believe it. Unbelievable. Can't even think of it. I can't believe Josh Uche only went for $3 million. That's unbelievable. Hopefully the Patriots actually freaking... The Panthers should have signed Josh Uche, by the way. They should have. But they didn't. So I'll have him back. The Mayo better play him more this year. That's all I'll say about that. Who do we got to talk about here, Mr. Caesar? We got the Rams, the 49ers. It's a nice day outside right now, which is rare for Vancouver at this time of the year. I might have to go for a quick walk, pull a Big Al. We got 49ers signed Jordan Elliott. Don't know if anyone cares about that. Rams signed Darious Williams. Bears signed Gerald Everett. Bills signed Nicholas Moreau, which I'm going to wait on that one because they haven't really signed anyone else. So I'll wait on that one. Bears signed Everett and Swift. I guess I could talk about those two. Jets signed a bunch of players. I didn't talk about Swift yesterday. Which one you guys like? Chiefs signed Irv Smith. Who cares? Guy sucks. Can't believe the Chiefs have made one signing today or yesterday, and then he's like the worst player in the NFL. Guy sucks. Commanders, I did. Titans, I could add Kenneth Murray to the Titans. Broncos. Have the Broncos signed anyone except for the safety? Like, what are they doing? Are they trying to lose? What's up, Funky Lions fan? How you doing, bro? Scroll back if you want. Big Al says 1 year up to $10 million for Devante David. Yeah. Absolutely shocking. Shocking move. Can't believe it. You mean the most loyal player in the NFL stayed on his team? Okay, let's talk about the Jets. Because I haven't covered the Jets really at all. The Bears just signed another person. They signed Simone Biles' husband, Jonathan Owens. So I could add him to the list of Bears players that I need to talk about as well. So we could do the Bears. Yeah, things are going well. I'm going to talk about the Jets right now. Hold on. Lecky Fotu. The Jets like their fat guys. They like their fat guys almost as much as the Panthers. Okay. The New York Jets are spending. They're all in on Aaron Rodgers in 2024, and that means they need to upgrade this roster to get it to contention levels. The one way and the best way to do that if you're the New York Jets is get some stability on your offensive line. Get some grit. Get some toughness. Get some power. Get some protection for Aaron Rodgers. That begins with offensive lineman John Simpson of the Baltimore Ravens signing a 2-year deal worth up to $18 million for the New York Jets. John Simpson, good football player, beast in the run game, just absolutely vicious. He is one of my favorite watches in terms of just beating people up. At 6'4", 330 pounds of absolute steel, John Simpson led the way for the Ravens last season. He also has played for the Raiders for the 3 years previous, 2020 through 2022, where he started in 2021 and was a primary backup in 2020 and 2022. But he was good for the Ravens last year in a starting role. And we hadn't really seen him in that type of role previously as much, but I think John Gruden liked him in Las Vegas when he was a little bit younger, but he's still pretty young. He's 26, going on 27, and for a lineman, that's pretty hard to find. And Simpson could definitely get in there and play and start for the Jets because they needed offensive linemen. So I'm intrigued to see if this means that Vera Tucker's staying at tackle. I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do at left tackle. Center, is Tippmann going to be the center? Who's the center exactly going to be? So that's intriguing for me in terms of how they'll move these pieces around. But Simpson has always been a guard. And last year, checking his grading on Pro Football Focus, he graded as the 49th best guard in football, playing 1,242 snaps, which has to be among the league lead. He had the 40th best pass blocking grade, the 49th best run blocking grade. In my opinion, he's a better run blocker than pass blocker. PFF has never been a huge fan. This, in their opinion, was their best season. And the one problem I have with this is the fact that the Ravens are mostly a gap power scheme and the Jets are a zone scheme. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But I do think that the Raider tape is maybe something that the Jets liked as well in terms of his ability in the run game in the zone scheme. But he provides a steady anchor in pass protection and, really, really strong guy. So at the guard position, he played 6th most snaps in the NFL. So that's a lot. So steady guy, just entering his prime, 27, guard, John Simpson of the Jets. Now next, they signed Javon Kinlaw, which I thought was one of the more interesting signings by the Jets, or any team for that matter, last night. Kind of snuck under the radar. But they signed him to a 1-year deal. Former first-round pick of the San Francisco 49ers, in which he believe he played inside Robert Saleh's defense. I'm just going to double-check the season that he was drafted. I want to say it was 2020 or 2019. So I think he played for Robert Saleh in 2020. I could be mistaken, but I think so. He started 12 games as a rookie in 2020, had 1.5 sacks, 33 tackles, which is a career high, by the way, for him. He actually probably played the most he's ever played when he was a rookie and a first-round pick for the Niners. He played 61% of the snaps in 2020. He was also a starter in 2021, but he did get injured and only played 4 games in that season. So, But Saleh left, I believe, in 2021 and to the Jets. So there's something that he liked about him, clearly. Whether it's the fit in the defense, maybe he feels like D'Amico used him incorrectly. Maybe he feels like the Niners haven't used him correctly. But I don't know. 25 tackles, 3.5 sacks this past season, his best year of his career so far. I thought he had a really nice playoff run for himself. I thought he was pretty good in the Super Bowl. I thought he had a really good Lions game and Packers game, especially the Packers game. I thought he played really well. And he's been ascending recently. He's 26 years old, turning 27 in October. Former first-round pick, 14th overall in the 2020 NFL Draft. Kinlaw, in terms of his grades, they put him at 87th, according to Pro Football Focus last year, with the 36th best pass rushing grade in football. He is 6'5", 319, and might be a really fascinating combination with Quinnen Williams, which that might make him really take off inside that defense. So clearly Saleh has a plan for him. They also signed Tyrod Taylor to up to an $18 million contract, which is absolutely crazy for a backup quarterback, in my opinion. That clearly means that the Jets are done with these experimental quarterbacks and having to pick up the Trevor Siemians of the world to play games. If Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, they want a reliable quarterback that can come in and play. Tyrod Taylor just played for the Giants, so clearly he doesn't have to move very far. He has plenty of experience. He's led a team to the playoffs in Buffalo before. Last year, he went 2-3 as a starter for the New York Giants. In 2021, he went 2-4 as a starter with the Houston Texans, a terrible Texans team. He was 1-0 for the Chargers. During his peak from 2015 to 2017, 7-6 as the starter for the Bills, 7-8 for the starter of the Bills, 8-6 as a starter for the Bills. And then since then, he's bounced around from team to team. Cleveland, LA, Houston, the Giants. He's a journeyman quarterback, but he showed last year that he can still play a little bit, and he showed at times that he was a lot better than Tommy DeVito, and arguably just as good and capable within the offense than Daniel Jones. And I think probably the Jets were impressed by that, just his ability to play no matter what's going on around him and not turn the football over, play mistake-free, be able to run when he needs to, be able to make the right decision at the right time, and complement a very good defense, which is what Tyrod Taylor has always been able to do. So it's a wise signing, insurance for Aaron Rodgers. And then their final signing was probably the weakest of the bunch. Fotu of the Arizona Cardinals signs with the Jets. Rotation defensive tackle, a big guy, and not a very good grade on PFF. He ranked not very well, 117th out of 130 last year. But he's been mostly in there for run snaps, 6'5", 334. He's a big body in the middle of their defense. So that's all I'll say about him. He signed a 1 year, $2.5 million base, upside of $4 million, can provide a bit of size on run snaps and run downs. The Jets definitely needed depth in their interior defensive line, so the signing of him and Kinlaw is wise. I so far don't mind what the Jets are doing. I really like the John Simpson signing. I think, maybe a little rich for a guy that is maybe had one proven season, but Kinlaw is a very high upside signing. I understand why they went after Tyrod Taylor, so there's a lot of good reasoning behind these moves. So we'll see what the Jets are able to do with the rest of the offensive line. That's kind of what I'm most fascinated with. And then if they bring in a receiver, bring in OBJ, baby. Get it done. Those are your Jets. Jets. Breaking news that the Colts are eyeing Danielle Hunter. Okay, that makes some sense. Thank you for that, Big Al. All right. So who have we not talked about? The Titans, Kenneth Murray. The Niners, Jordan Elliott. The Rams, Darious Williams. The Bears, We could do the Bears. I'm going to need a sip of water. The Indianapolis Colts are eyeing Danielle Hunter according to Big Al Williams. I like how Tom Pelissero said, a new home for Simone Biles' husband. He's not his own individual? Hold on a second. Two-year deal? Doesn't say the money. Funky Lions fan knows Jonathan Owens pretty well. He's staying in the division. Dakota says, have my Broncos done anything good in free agency? No, Dakota, I'm sorry to inform you that they've been very, 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 very conservative. They have not done really anything. So they've only signed a safety from the Dolphins. That's it. Sorry, bud. I don't know what to tell you. Gronk spiked the like button. That's what I'll tell you. All right. How about we talk about the Bears? The Bears. Huh? Okie dokie. Bears are adding to their team, loading up for 2024. A rookie quarterback is coming in. That means you need to complement him with a nice rushing attack. DeAndre Swift has been signed to the Bears. 3 years, $24 million contract. This was actually one of the first moves of free agency. Swift is 25 years old, turning 26, not until next January. He's only 25, ladies and gentlemen. He's been in the NFL for 4 years, and it's been an up and down experience. This past year was his most effective running the football, 229 times for the Philadelphia Eagles for 1,049 yards and 5 touchdowns. He has been known for his skill set to catch the football, 62 catches in his second season, 40-plus catches in year 1 and year 3. Last year, due to Jalen Hurts not throwing the ball to the running back very much, only 39, but he does have the skill set to catch the football. And what I liked about Swift last year was he proved that he could carry the load for an offense. He could take contact. He could run in between the tackles hard. He could break tackles. He could play physical. He could play tough. He could play with power. And we thought of him as a stop and start running back, as a elusive, quick running back, but he has become maybe a little bit less explosive, a less home run guy, and more of a every down, do the dirty work type of running back. But last year he had 4.6 yards per carry. The year previous, 5.1. He has never dipped below 4. And he's dealt with injuries throughout the course of his career. Last year was the closest he got to 17 games with 16 games played for the Eagles. And, 25 years old. He's signing a 3-year contract, $24 million with the Bears. A young quarterback is going to go along with this young running back. And I'm intrigued to see how they utilize all these different running backs on the Bears. They have Roschon Johnson, a big, powerful guy. They've got Khalil Herbert, a smaller, shiftier, quicker, faster running back. And they got DeAndre Swift, a do-it-all running back who, for sure, with this contract, is going to be their starter. So I think he can be explosive for them, maybe if they dial down some of the touches and give complement with Roschon Johnson on short yardage, with Khalil Herbert as well, and mix in Swift, because I think he's going to wear down quickly and probably get hurt if he gets another load the way that he did in Philadelphia. But Had a really good season last year. I was impressed by him. I think that the blocking was really good in Philadelphia, but Chicago's a low-key, pretty good run-blocking team. So when you look at how he was graded, I'm not exactly sure. We're going to take a look. They graded him as the 45th running back in football last year, which isn't exactly phenomenal considering Khalil Herbert was 14th. I've always been a fan of Khalil Herbert, by the way. But he did play 669 snaps, which that is upper echelon in football. And in 2022, he was graded 19th in football. As a rookie, he was 39th. Those were his best seasons, according to PFF. A high draft pick, I believe second rounder out of Georgia, not too long ago. So a good signing. They complement that running back pickup with a tight end pickup. And this one is fascinating to me because Gerald Everett is probably going to be the number 2 tight end on the Bears. And in that case, that's a very nice number 2 tight end. 2 years, $12 million. Shane Waldron gets to add to his tight end collection. Cole Kmet is a good tight end. Like, I like Cole Kmet quite a bit. He is a number 1 tight end in this league. He can do a bit of everything. Everett is coming off 2 consecutive 50-plus catch seasons with the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert throwing him missiles. Last year, he played 15 games, 411 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And that's pretty much been his entire career. About 40 to 60, not even 60. He's never had 60 catches, but 30 to 58 catches has been his range for about 330 to 550 yards. That's been every year of his career, no matter if it's been with the Rams or the Chargers. And this is the first time he'll deviate away from the city of LA. Actually, he did play in Seattle for a year where he had 48 catches, 478 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But the West Coast is going to miss Gerald Everett. He's going to Chicago. And it's going to be interesting to see how they use him. Shane Waldron obviously knows him because he worked in LA with the Rams, with Everett, when Everett was there. So obviously he likes him. Everett, I would say earlier in his career, he was a bit faster, a bit more of a physical freak in a way. Now he feels like a guy that catches a lot of contested catches. Like, oftentimes when I see him catching the ball, it's over the middle, down the seam, stretching the defense, and with a guy draped all over him, he's able to kind of make a catch away from his body. But it is intriguing to note that with the Chargers, he played in a much different offense than he will with the Rams. Or not with the Rams, but the Rams and the Bears, because they're similar. But Everett is not the best blocker in the world. That's going to be more Cole Kmet's thing. So I'm intrigued to see how they use both these guys. They don't have a really flamboyant, great receiving core right now. It's only really DJ Moore. So the way I'm looking at it right now, their base personnel might be 2 tight end sets. We'll see. Jonathan Owens was their other signing and their latest signing. The husband of Simone Biles. I'm sure you'll hear that more than once if you're a Bears fan. Born in 95, he is 28 years old. 17 games last year, 11 starts for the Packers. 84 tackles, 1 touchdown, and I remember it. It was against the Lions. 1 sack, I think it was on Thanksgiving. Forced fumble. And the year previous, he had 125 tackles in Houston for 4 passes defensed. And he is a box safety. He is a strong safety. 5'11", 5'10". He's okay. Like, in my opinion, he's like a third safety. I thought he actually played maybe the best he's ever played last year in terms of like playmaking ability, flying around. You would often notice him like making big tackles near the line of scrimmage or at the second level. He graded as the 73rd best safety last year on 927 snaps, which is a lot of snaps. That is top 20 in the NFL, I think, last year. So he played a lot. And yeah, that was actually his best graded season. So I was right, of his career. 59.6, 73rd in the league. The year previous was not great. 86 out of 88, according to PFF, with the Texans, but he did have 120 plus tackles. They kind of use him everywhere in Green Bay. 434 free safety snaps, 322 in the box. So both locations. Packers played a lot of too high last year. I don't know how he'll really be utilized. Maybe they'll utilize Brisker in the box a little bit more as like a third safety, big nickel type player, and then they'll use Jonathan Owens as their third safety that comes on the field in passing situations. They could use him maybe like that. Played 137 slot snaps, 322 in the box, 434 free safety, and he played a bit of special teams. He played over 140 snaps on the kick return, and he played 80 on punt coverage. So those are your moves for the Bears. Adding Jonathan Owens, DeAndre Swift, Gerald Everett. 2 for the offense, 1 for the secondary. Bears defense is looking really good on paper. I will say that. And the offense is getting there. It's getting there for Caleb Williams. We'll see you soon. All right. Next. Who are we going with? Did anyone sign as I was talking? We got the Rams, the Niners, and the Titans, really the teams that I want to talk about. Next. Dustin says, do you like Brissett to the Patriots? Do you think the Patriots are finished at quarterback in free agency? Dustin, I made a video on that. Go watch it. It's on my channel, so if you want to find it, you probably didn't get notified or anything because YouTube stops notifying people after 2 or 3 videos, I think, and I posted 5 yesterday. So go check that out. It's on my channel. Just go to the videos tab, you'll find it. If you want my full thoughts on Jacoby, I'm a fan of Jacoby though. It's a thumbs up for me, but you'll find out what I say in that video. In terms of if they're finished, I didn't answer that question. If they're finished in free agency, I would say yes, unless it's a very low-end quarterback. But they already re-signed Nathan Rourke, so I don't think that they're going to go after a third string. I think they're going to draft a quarterback. I think they're going to draft one. So it'll be the draft pick, it'll be Jacoby, and that will probably be the quarterback room for next year, and maybe they'll keep Nathan Rourke. Bailey Zappi, I think, still on the roster, but I think he'll be cut eventually. Funky Lions fan says Cole Kmet is probably the most underrated tight end in the league. He's definitely one of them. He also says, funny how Swift had 1 year where he stayed healthy, and it was in a contract year behind the best offensive line in the league. You're not wrong about that. Big Al says, I'm happy for Jacoby returning to the Patriots. Damn right, damn right. Jacoby's a great guy. Wolfpack, baby, Wolfpack. Big Al, have you been watching the Patriot Dynasty doc? Jacoby seems like a great guy. I don't know him personally, but from what I've heard. All right, so I got a couple things to talk about, I guess. We could talk about Darious Williams to the Rams. That's a pretty big signing. Yeah, we'll do 3 more here, unless there's some breaking news, and then maybe I'll come back later tonight. Ooh. Raekwon Davis signed with the Colts. Oh, yeah, you've been watching it, Big Al? It's pretty good. I think they're a little bit too negative about my Patriots sometimes, but it is what it is. Okay, let's do Darious Williams. Darious Williams is 30? I didn't think he was that old, to be honest. I guess I didn't think he was young, but... All right. The Los Angeles Rams will see the return of an old friend. Hi, Darious Williams. Darious Williams returns on a 3-year, $22.5 million contract worth up to $30 million. Williams, graded as the 13th best corner in football last year, according to Pro Football Focus, playing over 1,000 snaps for the Jacksonville Jags. A 85.3 coverage grade would sit him at 5th in the NFL. Pretty darn good if you ask me. And throughout the course of his career, Darious Williams has been a darn good number 2 corner. And you Rams fans know that as good as anybody. He was the number 2 for Jalen Ramsey. He was the 4th graded corner in 2020 in the number 1 defense in football with the Rams. He had a bit of a dip in his play with Jacksonville, but always high in ball production at 5'9", 187. It always impresses me how much this little cornerback gets his hands on the ball. Last year was maybe his best season of his career, playing almost all of his snaps out wide, which is where the Jags made the biggest mistake, trying to play him at the nickel position because of his size early in the tenure there. But they moved him back outside, and he ended up playing very, very well. And he typically plays left cornerback for the teams. His all-time season is, 2020 with 4 picks in that year, 44 tackles. He did have his career high in tackles in 2021 with the Rams with 71, where he played for the Super Bowl champion LA Rams. Then he went to Jacksonville with 53 tackles in Jacksonville the last 2 seasons in a row. He had 4 interceptions last year, and he's 30 years old now. So he's a little bit older. He's a veteran for sure. And he will be 31 in 3 days. So happy birthday, Darious Williams. Happy early birthday. The last few years, he has allowed a 63.9 passer rating last year, a 68.7 the year before. His worst passer rating allowed was in 2021, which was one of his best seasons, 95.8, and then a 63.9 and a 77. He's been a very good player for a long time. Mostly playing zone coverage in his career, but just impressive how often he's able to get his hands on the ball. Like passes defense, look at these numbers. 14 in 2020, 9 in 2021, 16 in 2022, and 19 this past season. So this guy gets targeted a lot because he's often the number 2 corner, but he's often getting his hands on the ball and allowing a low passer rating, which is exactly what you want from a number 2 corner. Because oftentimes a passer rating or ball production is misleading for a number 1 corner because they're not getting targeted. But the number 2 corner is a lot different. So the Rams got themselves a very reliable veteran that knows the scheme and the defense. Darious Williams back to the Rams. Miguel says, yeah, it's good. They have been kind of negative in spots, but it's a good watch. It's definitely a good watch. Caesar says, come on, Cowboys, do something. He's poking them. Do something, Cowboys. Do something. Ballard says, what do you guys think of Vikings moves and also our team next year? Oh, I've talked a bunch about the Vikings. I talked about them near the beginning of this video, and I talked about them yesterday. I'll probably release a video about all of their moves in the next day or two. What else was I going to say? But I like a lot of them. I like what they've done with their defense. I love the Aaron Jones move. And Sam Darnold is a decent upside bridge quarterback. So I think a lot of their moves are good moves. I think they could be a little bit better than people think so far from what I've seen with what they've done. Aaron Jones is going to be fun. That's going to be a fun one. All right. 2 more signings to talk about here to just cap it off. Let's go Jordan Elliott to the 49ers, considering that's basically my second team. I'll talk about that really quickly to add to the stuff that I already talked about with the 49ers yesterday. And then maybe we'll do Kenneth Murray to the Titans. All right. Let's pull up Jordan Elliott. What do you think of that Davis signing, Dustin? Okay. The San Francisco 49ers are adding veteran depth on the interior defensive line. Jordan Elliott, 2 years, $10 million. A former mid-round pick of the Cleveland Browns, has had a bit of an up and down start to his NFL career, but he could find a role on the depth chart of the 49ers. They love their layers of depth in San Francisco on the front four, and Elliott will provide a cheap option off the bench. 2.5 sacks last year in 17 games, 21 tackles. He's played in Cleveland for his entire career. He was a third-round selection in 2020. Jordan Elliott, 6'4", 303, is in the build and the size of a 49er interior defensive lineman with the quickness, the first step in the hands in order to get to the quarterback. I remember being a pretty big fan of Elliott coming out of the draft in 2020 because I thought he showed a lot of prowess and promise as a pass rusher. So I think he could bring something to the 49ers. He did grade pretty poorly, according to PFF, the last couple of years. He did have the 63rd best pass rushing grade, though, but he struggles in run defense, according to Pro Football Focus, with the 105th run defense grade. He played 466 snaps, which, is just in the same line as Kevin Givens, who played for the Niners last year. So same sort of snap percentage there for that defensive line. Just a layer of depth for the 49ers defense. In his career, he has put up 5 sacks, and the last 2 years, he has started 17 games and 14 games for Cleveland. He's been a starter on one of the best defenses in football last year and rotated with Shelby Harris a lot for that defense. So an interesting signing, very cheap, 2 years, $10 million. Jordan Elliott, formerly of the Browns, to the Niners. Jerry Jones is going to make something happen. You know he is. Thanks, Caesar, so much, bro. He says, that's it. I'm invading the Cowboys' office. Just to give him some pasta. Just a nice little hug and some pasta. All right. Last one, guys. Last one for right now. I might be back later. We'll see what happens. Simone Biles tweeted, by the way, Chicago, here he comes. About Jonathan Owens, obviously. Gronk spike the like button, guys, if you haven't already. Sarah says, I'm glad my Colts are bringing back their guys. You're awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you. And yes, I wish they would do a little bit more. My problem with the Colts is I think they make smart moves a lot of the time, but they don't push the envelope enough. Like right now, they've got Anthony Richardson as the rookie quarterback on a cheap contract. They should be trying to go and sign some guys. Like if they go and sign Danielle Hunter, yeah, I'll be pumped. But I want to see them push a little bit. Like get a cornerback, get a big time defensive player, go in and get a big baller, Sarah. So that's kind of how I feel. I like that they're bringing back Grover Stewart and some of the guys that they've brought back, and Michael Pittman, obviously. But I think that they should also be pressing to bring in people outside as well. So let's finish off with Kenneth Murray. trying to think of the connection here. I don't know if there is one, but let me think. What is that? Stop talking, dude. Okay, thank you. Anyways, the Tennessee Titans have found a new linebacker for their defense. Former high draft pick of the Los Angeles Chargers, Kenneth Murray, is now a Tennessee Titan. It's time to tighten up, Murray. Kenneth Murray is 25 years old. He will be 26 in November. 15 games started last year, 16 games started the year before, and as a rookie, 16 games started. He's had a roller coaster of a career so far, but last year might have been his best season of his career with 107 tackles, which ties his career best of his rookie season, 3 sacks, which is his career best. He had 7 tackles for loss, which is his career best, and he had 1 interception, which is tied for his career best. So overall, statistically speaking, Murray is ascending. Last year, in terms of coverage, he allowed a 100 passer rating, and he put up 5 pressures. He played within the Chargers defense, which has infamously been known for terrible run defense, and infamously known for the greatness of Brandon Staley. But 6'2", 241, Kenneth Murray is obviously a promising prospect. Somebody in Tennessee sees what they can get out of him. They see potential, right? And he was the 23rd pick in 2020 in that draft. So, once upon a time thought of as a great athlete, can really run. He almost has safety-like speed. But his problem has been size. His problem has been his ability to see the run game and fight through the trash of the run game. And that has always been his biggest deficiencies. When we're looking at the Tennessee Titans and his grade, he had the 75th grade in football last year, which I feel like is an upgrade for him considering past seasons, 968 snaps, which is a lot of snaps. And he'll be a Titan this year. Last year he had a 73rd grade. Rookie was 42nd, so I guess he has graded better before, but 34th in pass rush grade. It's going to be interesting to see how the Titans use him in this defense. I don't exactly know if there's a connection to the coaching staff or anything like that, but I bet you what happened was somebody in the front office liked him coming out of the draft, and they said, we've got a chance to get this guy. I think you guys can coach him up and make him what he should have been. And that's often the case with this. But 2-year deal, $15.5 million, $18 million max contract is headed to the Tennessee Titans. Super athletic, fast, but can he just hone his game in and be taught the right way in Tennessee? All right. Well, I'm going to end it there, guys, unless there's some breaking news that I miss right now. I guess I could do Raekwon. Is it Raekwon or Roquan? I've always wondered that. I guess it's Raekwon, right? It's R-A-E. I guess I could talk about that. I talked about Devante Parker, bro. I'm just going to write down the Raekwon Davis stuff. 2 years. $14 million. Dustin says, you're awesome. Thank you for the up-to-the-minute reports. None of my people had heard about Raekwon Davis to the Colts. It was pretty fast. I think I looked at it within 2 minutes. So, yeah, Dustin, I agree with your take there. I'm going to give you my take on Davis. Eagles wash up graded Jones with boys. What the heck are you talking about, Coach? That makes no sense whatsoever. Coach says, see you on BR. This guy's obsessed with BR. Go back to your BR, Coach. All right. Let's see. Gonna do this last one for our Colts fans here. Okay. The Indianapolis Colts have made a move to beef up the defensive line. Raekwon Davis, former second-round selection of the Miami Dolphins under Brian Flores' regime, has signed with the Colts 2 years, $14 million, known as a run stuffer, playing alongside the highly priced Christian Wilkins for the past 3 or 4 years. Davis, second round pick, 56th overall in 2020. He is not a pass rusher. He does not bring sacks, does not bring pressure. He is a run defender. 28 tackles this past season. This is the season where his playtime dropped off a little bit, and I think it was because there was a change in coaching. So Vic Fangio came in as the defensive coach, changed some of the scheme, some of the personnel usage, and I think Zach Sealer kind of outplayed him in pass rushing situations. So that also moved him down the depth chart a little bit and reduced his role to a run down defender, right? And Davis is a guy that played at Alabama and has played at a high level for a number of years. 12 starts in his rookie year, 14 starts in his second year, 15 starts in his third year. And in terms of percentage of snaps, he's never been a high percentage snap guy. 52%, 47%, 56%. But then, like I said, his lowest of his career, 45%, 498 snaps last year. So I think it had to do with coaching, and I think it had to do with Zach Sealer being a good player and just outplaying him in some facets. But for the Colts, where does this fit in? This fits in as a run defender, and this also gives him some depth. DeForest Buckner is obviously there, absolute stud, best player on their defense. 841 snaps last year. He was the 12th best defender at interior defensive line. Grover Stewart is a great run defender with one of the best grades in football at 77.3, 22nd best run defender, or 22nd best player at interior defensive line according to PFF, and his run defense grade was 5th. So I was a great run defender. But then you've got kind of the question of who is behind them, right? And for the Colts, depth chart, he would probably slot in as their third interior defensive lineman, right? I don't think anyone on their depth chart would surpass him in that facet. So Davis, to me, is their third guy. They can beef up their line a little bit if they want to, and maybe that adds a little bit of versatility in terms of formations and looks that they can bring with the defensive line. Maybe they can move Buckner to the edge occasionally on certain situations. There's a lot of different things that you can do here. 3-man fronts, maybe a little bit more, stuff like that. He can bring a lot of versatility within what he can do, and then just be able to give a breather to Grover Stewart, who's getting a little bit older, and DeForest Buckner, who's getting a little bit older. And it's not a super expensive contract, 2 years, $14 million for a good run defender. So in terms of his grade, I don't know if I said it, but it was 79th, according to PFF last year, which is solid. 531 snaps played. His best season of his career was actually his rookie season, according to PFF, 37th. His pass rush grade was 75th, overall grade 79th. 6'7", 335-pound Raekwon Davis to the Colts. All right, there it is, guys. Gronk spiked the like button. Appreciate you tuning in. I will probably be back later tonight. Thanks for watching. It's Mitch. Peace.